Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a very, very special episode today. Welcome back. Welcome once again to the Too Clever Mafia podcast, and I am your one and only host, Too Clever Mafia, and I'd like to say hello to AJ over in the sound booth and all of my loyal listeners, my Mafians, as I like to call them, and to all of you new listeners as well. If this is your first time here, welcome. And you know, our show has something for everyone, so I'm sure you'll enjoy this episode. This is a very special edition, wouldn't you say, AJ? We're doing a midweek, our first ever midweek podcast episode, and it's worth it. I think it's worth it. So to get right into it, we're doing this episode. The presidential debate, the U.S. presidential debate, was last night, and I gotta tell you, we're really going to get into it today and give you all the highlights and lowlights, so you don't have to sit through it. It's all over the media. It's everywhere. But I'm going to give you the kind of the too clever gist of it, so you don't have to sit through that madness. And I got to tell you, AJ, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. It was late for me last night. I mean, it was not only was it late, but it was a heavyweight fight. It was. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the whole night, all night long. Yeah. And it wasn't just to get the snacks that Mrs. Mafia had out for me, but all night long, it was just like, when is it going to give me a time to breathe here? The back and forth and the yelling, lots and lots of yelling. To sum it up, it was just a lot of yelling. I mean, that would sum it up very nicely, but we've got a lot more for you here at the Too Clever Mafia podcast today, don't we, AJ? As always, it was a lot of amped up energy. It was fiery, very, very fiery. I'm sure you've seen all the headlines everywhere, but, there was no noise from the crowd. I think in the beginning there was like a small applause, but there was about only 100 people there, and not a peep from any one of them. It was crickets. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a very weak applause in the beginning, and when they showed the crowd, you would, the crowd was kind of dimmed out, I guess you can say. It was just a black, though there was no lights in the auditorium or wherever they were, and it was just a kind of a halo over the moderator, the Fox moderator, Chris Wallace, and there was just you couldn't see anybody in the background behind him. It was kind of an eerie view, and kind of that was the feeling that I got. But I got to tell you that it felt like you were, if you've ever stuck in a store or a gymnasium, and a janitor shut off the lights for the evening, and didn't know you were still in there. That's what it felt like, and it ended at 10:36 Eastern time, which is where I'm located and the show's located. And at one point, I really thought one of the candidates was just going to walk off the stage and, say, forget about this, man. I'm going home. I'm going to bed. It was a real battle. It was a real battle. And maybe not in a good way. It depends on how you look at it. But went past my bedtime for sure, and probably Biden's too. But our President Donald Trump, I think he can go all night. I think he's had a lot of practice in his life before he became president. He was living that billionaire playboy lifestyle for quite a while, well, probably most of his life, right? So we'll see. We're going to get into this, and don't forget to check us out on tooclevermafia.com. Like and subscribe at Tooclevermafia. That's TOO Clever Mafia. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We got a new thing called Linktree, which on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, you can see all of our places that we have our podcast, all our social media accounts, all that stuff, all in one spot. I love it. AJ set it up. Good job, AJ. And we're going to get it all up there for you. So you could just, what they say, smash the subscribe button or like button or whatever button it is to follow us on Twitter. And we love to have you get those notifications for our new shows and special episodes, kind of like this one today. You can also, if you like to get yourself some Too Clever Mafia merch or merchandise, head over to Teespring. We're Too Clever Mafia there. Or we have an account now on Stream Elements, too. We have some nice ideas over there. I think we even have new face masks with our logo on it on the Stream Elements site, which you can find in the link below or definitely on our YouTube channel. But listen to us on Spotify, on Anchor, on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and make sure you take a moment to like and subscribe or follow. We're on Breaker, Radio Public, and Bullhorn. And so, real quick before we get into our first break here, we're going to try to keep the breaks to a minimum because we got a lot of stuff to go over, don't we, AJ? And if anybody is out there, I saw a great commercial last night during the debates for checking facts. So anybody who really cares, if there is anybody that really cares at this point, head over to usafacts.org. It's a great site to find out for yourself who's telling the truth. If you've got questions about things that are said, check it out for yourself. And again, at this point, though, is that what matters to anyone? I don't know. So we'll be right back. We are going to go over a lot of topics. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court. We're going to be talking about those middle-of-the-road voters. We're going to be talking about Chris Wallace, the quorum last night and the debates. And then we're going to be, at the end of this whole thing, we're going to share with you how I scored the debates and my point system. And I'll tell you who I think won and who I think lost. You never know, AJ. You never know, right? You're the guy or you're voting for may have won, may have not. Who knows? We'll see. But you don't want to miss this. As a Clever will be getting political, and you know what that means, folks. You know, the Mafians know what it means when I get political. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. You will not want to miss this. Welcome once again. Welcome, Mafians. Thank you, AJ, for another lovely introduction. We are going to get right into this special edition of the U.S. presidential debate of 2020. The first one. And this first segment is going to be right what it is, folks. We're going to get right into it. Biden versus Trump. So, former Vice President Joe Biden served 2 terms under President Obama, faced off versus the current president, Donald Trump, who's running for re-election for his 2nd term this November. And I got to tell you, there was... all right, so how am I going to go about this today? I am going to kind of break this down nice and easy for everyone so you don't have to kind of sift through all the news and garbage that we went through just to kind of get the facts, get the correct answers, get to the bottom of these sometimes fake stories. So just a little bit of a disclaimer. I know the history of the Tooclevermafia podcast, we don't talk about politics. We just don't. Never really been a thing. We stay away from that. But this is, it's a real sticky wicket when you start talking about that type of stuff. But today we are going to break our own rules. It is a special edition, right, AJ? And we're going to break our own rules. So there is a chance today I'm going to say something that both Biden and Trump supporters that listen to the show may not agree with. But today I will promise you this. I will promise you I will try to be as fair as I can, as objective as I can, and at least try to listen with an open frame of mind is all I ask. It's at the very least, I'm hoping it'll make you think and go out and vote. Okay? So this was my impression at the bell, right? Because this was a boxing match. But at the bell, at first Biden looked frail. He looked frail. He looked weak. He looked confused. Coming out, he had the mask on when he came out, and then he took it off. Practicing social distancing properly. And then he did this. He was doing this weird thing all night where he was, it looked like he was trying to look at the camera to try to address the American people, which is a very good thing. But he also avoided looking at the current president, Donald Trump. He just didn't want to even look in that direction. At least that was the angle they presented us on the cameras on the Fox News or the Fox show that they were, because it was hosted and moderated by Chris Wallace, who was a Fox News anchor. But maybe he was looking at the wrong camera. It seemed he was a little off. He looked a little flustered at times. Definitely irritated and cranky. And trust me, I know how that feels. That happens to me. I mean, that's my everyday, right? I mean, AJ knows he has to put up with me here, right, AJ? Yeah, I'm just flustered and cranky most of the time. Anybody that knows me now, but I'm old. That's what happens when you get old. Sometimes you just get cranky. And, it definitely looked like it was, way past Biden's bedtime. Trump came out with a little less energy, though, than I expected. I expected a little bit more energy from him as well. Um, but as the debates went on, it just came across that Trump was trying to or did steamroll right over Biden. And Biden did gain some energy, as the night went on, right? I know AJ kind of missed some of the. AJ went to bed early last night. He missed the debates. But anyway, as the debates went on, I think Biden did gain some energy. But unfortunately, once he ran out of his talking points, and you can tell that he had a ton of talking points ready to go, things that he wanted to say, repeat, 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 say and repeat, that he's been doing on, his whole campaign. But once he ran out of those talking points, and Donald Trump started hitting him with questions or just questions in general that were asked by Donald Trump or Chris Wallace, it was almost a little bit of a kind of a deer in headlights type of look. And Chris Wallace, was asking some really softball questions, I feel. We'll get to that. We got a whole segment on him. But Biden just didn't take a stand on any of the real issues. I mean, the real issues in this country right now are law and order and the economy. People need to work. They need to get money. We need to get things going again. And, doing it in a safe way, of course. And we need to get, this country moving in the right direction again. But he would just reply, the replies that he was able to get out from the yelling, because there was a lot of yelling back and forth. He would just reply, and point out what Trump wasn't doing, as opposed to what he would do or how he would go about it. It was just amped up energy, folks. It was, on a scale of 1 to 10, Trump was an 8. Biden was an 8 for his level of energy that he normally brings. And it was a real punch out, a real, knock him down, drag him out fight. And I think those middle of the road voters, they're going to be staying in the middle. I don't think anything was really accomplished last night other than these two men just bickering back and forth. Yeah. What real issues were discussed last night during the debates? I mean, did you hear? I didn't hear many. But will we get? We'll get to that in the next segment of what issues were actually discussed. And so I read an article this morning, but I didn't see. I didn't see it anywhere else. One article came across, and I read this article, and I did a little fact checking, and it turned out to be true. But I saw that Donald Trump, before the debate, wanted to amend the terms of the debate, the rules, so to speak, to have Biden's team, and I guess along with Trump's team, check for earpieces. And I heard Biden's team declined to check for earpieces, and I didn't see one in Biden's ear. I wasn't really looking for it. I have to go back and watch some video. But I don't know. Biden basically said if they want to use one, they'll use one. And I don't know if that's good. I mean, who's he taking? If he's the president of the United States or wants to be the president of the United States, you got to be able to. It's your decision. You can check with other people and look for facts, but you got to be able to answer questions. You can't just be fed a teleprompter all the time. I mean, I know the president doesn't just generally write his own speeches, but you got to fact check them and look them over. You're ultimately responsible for that, and you can't have a man talking in your ear. That's no good, especially with all that yelling. There was plenty of this. Go ahead, AJ, play the sound. Yeah, you see that? There was a lot of that going on. But plenty of yelling, and I was reading some of the newspapers to try to kind of put things together and come up with my own analysis, if you will, of what happened last night. And there were a lot of headlines that said, Trump versus Biden. It was a cage fight, and then it changed the perception, and of our country. It showed us in a decline because of that poor back and forth last night. And I don't know how true that was. I saw someone that said battle royale. There's one that said just plain nasty, just nasty. And it goes on. There were so many of them. The news media, along with the American public, and probably the entire world that was watching, agreed. It was just nasty. And the question as to Um, if this should have taken place at all, which is on everyone's mind. And before the debate, there was a huge question of whether Biden would take, should do the debate from his own party for reasons that he most likely wasn't going to perform well against Trump. But I think his performance was slightly better than what was expected, just a little bit. But now the question is, was this of any value to America and, at all? I mean, did it help us make choices that we weren't able to make before? And did we learn anything new? Did we see how our issues are going to be addressed, or what? One of these, or it was just two men squabbling for the cameras, repeating those talking points, and they just kept trying to talk over one another and being rude to each other. But these are my thoughts, folks. These are what I saw last night. I'm sure some of us might have seen things differently. This is what I saw, and I feel we need to get more straight answers from both of these people. Biden and Trump need to give us straight answers. Every time Biden was able to answer a question, between the yelling and the long pauses, to organize his thoughts, when rightfully so, he was being yelled at and hollered at, and it's probably very hard for him to concentrate, as it would have been for me or anyone else probably. What he told Trump was just what Trump wasn't doing. That was his answer. Like I had said earlier, that was just his answers. They weren't really not what he was going to do, which is what we needed to hear. Biden was not clear about his answers with the Green New Deal. That whole back and forth was kind of silly, and it didn't make much sense at times. And, some say Biden went along with Bernie Sanders' manifesto, which was in part the Green New Deal. And Biden kind of said, no, he said, listen, I'm the Democratic Party and that's not my deal. But then at one point he kind of said it was. And in the past he said it was. That was all just very, very, very confusing. And Trump spent a lot of time just shaking his head no, which, I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that, but it was distracting over time. And I get that Trump has always been attacked by the media, since day one. And some say it has turned him to become very defensive, though I think he was kind of defensive from the very beginning, even before he became president. And unfortunately, always having to defend yourself with against fake news reports, against incorrect quotes the news media publishes, and then they retract them on the back page 4 days later. But that's not what the American public sees or hears. They see the initial accusations, and then that's the truth, and that's the end of it. And whether that's fair or not, I don't know. I mean, he's not perfect. We all know that, but he is our president. And too often the media just gives their opinion before jump to conclusions. I mean, opinions and facts are clearly different, folks. But the media, has blurred that line. For me to even have to say, the media on both sides needs to start working with the facts and not their opinions or speculation is the problem. It's the biggest problem in America, or one of the biggest problems in America right now. That's the division. That's the problem. The lack of unity and a clear, unmanipulated truth which the American people can work with, instead of these, stories that are being told, and they're being told in a very, one-sided way, no matter what side of it you're on. Both sides are the news media that represents both sides, which it shouldn't be that way. But the perceived news media representation of each side, it has to disappear. It should be one news, distribute the facts, let the people make their own or come to their own opinions. We don't, the news media shouldn't be giving us their opinions. That's not news. That's reality television in a way, So I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to go right into the issues here, AJ. We're going to go right into the issues that I was able to pick up last night. It wasn't that many, but I was able to kind of go through the mess and figure out what the real issues were. And the issues were, I mean, the real top issues on everybody's mind these days are law and order and the economy. What are the candidates going to do, and how are they going to address that? That's what I wanted to hear. I didn't hear much of that at last night from anyone at all. And, you know, those are the issues. That was the main issue, that top two issues in the country right now. And there was none of that. But I did hear issues about the mail-in ballots. And I'll tell you, they talked about the mail-in ballots a bit and went back and forth and again confused me. But I'm not sure what the big deal is based upon what I heard last night and what I already knew about the mail-in ballots from both sides of it. You know, mail-in ballots have been used as only an option, as the only option in some states and in the military forever, which they mentioned last night. And I get that some states are not used to that, and some ballots, have been discarded, that have been I guess they've already voted by mail, for one reason or another, and that should never happen. Every vote should be counted. And I don't know why they would discard it. I don't know the details of it, but if that's true, that is just wrong and should never happen. It has to never happen again. And also some states do not have the staffing. They're worried about counting these millions of ballots on election night because some states have rules, which they said last night cannot be opened until election night, which, millions of people, you got 20 people. I mean, how long is it going to take to count though? I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of counting. Imagine that. Imagine that, AJ. What, that's what concerns the states have, but the states need to address those issues and fix them ahead of time. Hire more people if you have to, temporary help, temp help, whatever you have to do, but people should just go vote. I mean, that's at the end of the day, everybody needs to vote, get out there, go to the polls. If you can mail it in, if you have to, if you need to, and see what happens. If this whole thing goes wrong, we're going to have to deal with it as a country. And hopefully it's not going to be as bad as some people are predicting if we don't have a president, especially by January. But if it takes months and then there's problems back and forth, it's going to be hopefully not as bad as they're saying. I really hope that. But we're going to have to just deal with that. The next issue that came up was a Supreme Court pick, right? So from the Trump side, Trump is saying move forward. He has the right to nominate and pick a justice. He does. That's how it works. If it was a Democratic president, they would do the same. They wouldn't wait. I mean, potentially, if the election doesn't go well, whether it's for the Democratic Party or the incumbent president in the Republican Party, then they might need the Supreme Court to work this whole thing out. You remember with Al Gore and the hanging Chad and the elections? I think it's to do with Florida and all that mess. And you're going to need that. You're going to need some semblance of order, or to be able to go and solve these issues instead of the bickering that we saw last night, which we know didn't solve anything. But in politics, if either side gets to do something that can progress their cause or move their party forward or get the leg up, so to speak, they're going to do that. That's politics, folks. On Biden's side, he says, wait, hey, however, from the little I was able to get from Biden last night, his idea was that a lot of Americans already mailed in, I don't know how many, but they've already mailed in their ballots, and they should be able to vote for the president who picks the next justice. And I don't agree with that. I think that's just absurd. I mean, the people that have already voted early probably didn't even care because they voted early to get it out of the way. That much about the issues. I mean, it wasn't an issue at the time they voted, but once you vote, you vote. And even though they probably should wait, but, it was their choice to vote early for one reason or another. And, their vote has been cast. Hopefully it's, you know, what they wanted. But, I voted early before. I've mailed in vote because I was taking vacations at that time and have changed my mind, you know, between the time I voted and the election on who I thought should win and why after new information. Because they always have those last minute things that come up right before the election to try to win instead they hold it back instead of giving it to the American people to decide and look at the facts. They hold it back. And I was out of luck. I actually voted for the wrong guy, the guy I didn't want. And, but so now I wait till election day and to cast my ballot in person. And you live and learn. You live and learn on that one. And they started to talk climate control for a little bit, or climate change. Climate control is what we wish we can do, especially in the studio, AJ. It's getting kind of warm in here. Yeah. I know I just took a little swig of my water bottle here. Sorry about that. But from climate change, I thought we were going to hear something good, and they went straight to the fires in California. But again, from what I could get through all of the yelling, was they both kind of agree on most environmental issues, so that wasn't a big deal. And I do like the idea from what I heard last night of California spending some more money on their own forests to take care of them, and it could help reduce the fires every year, especially in areas where people live. I mean, that sounds like a good idea. Why is not that not done as a priority? Why is that not being done? Hasn't been done, and, not for nothing, most of these fires they're saying are started by people. And I tell you, they need Smokey the Bear, some advertising about Smokey the Bear and how dangerous forest fires are. And, what was his slogan? Only you can prevent forest fires. Well, I'm sure there's some areas that are, nature kind of caused the problem, but I think California should and could do more to fix these issues. I mean, for some reason, they're saying other countries, again, I don't know how true that is. I didn't fact check that, but that they can, countries that are more woodsy, I guess, or cities that are more woodsy are able to control or manage and take care of forests better. So that way we don't have this issue, going back and forth with it every year. Poor people in California are burning their houses and being destroyed. And that's horrible. That's horrible. And, really, it's poor leadership. If I lived in California, I would be so angry with the leadership not doing what they need to do to take care of their people. And they should vote. They should go out and vote and make some changes and, tell their elected officials of what they want and the change that they want to have. So we are going to take a short break, and then I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of Chris Wallace and a couple of other things I want to chat about today. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back, Mafians. Welcome back to our special edition episode of the U.S. Presidential Debate 2020 Breakdown. And now, yes, folks, thank you, AJ, for that lovely intro. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about Chris Wallace, the moderator, the Fox News anchor. We know Chris Wallace and the president are not the best of friends, which, again, they should be partisan anyway. I don't necessarily think presidents should be friends with any news source, because that way you can present the news in an unbiased way. But, even though he's on Fox, a typically right conservative news station, Chris didn't even pretend to be in the middle last night. And, why do these debates always have moderators that are not more... what's the word? Middle? Centrist? I don't know. We'll say middle. But, the moderators who are not in the middle will not be able to be fair just by their natural bias. And they'll not be able to be fair when the debate goes off the rails like it did last night. And boy, did it go off the rails last night, AJ. Chris He didn't follow the rules. He didn't. And neither did Trump or Biden. And I remember in the beginning, Chris said they each had 2 minutes each to talk, and then there would be some free time to have an open discussion. Well, it seemed to me that they were both interrupting each other when they were doing their 2 minutes. So I don't know if that gave them more time or, we couldn't really see the clock. It was in the back of that dark, hollow room that you saw the 2 minutes posted every once in a while, which is the only thing you could see in the room. So I don't know why they were. I don't remember him scolding anyone for going over time, but I do. He did holler at the president and Joe Biden for going over volume and not yelling at each other and both talking at the same time, which is very difficult to hear them both talk at the same time. But so when they started to go back and forth, and when you kind of thought, hey, we're going to hear something here, they kind of, stopped talking over, and then it started kind of going back and forth, and issues started coming up, and Chris would cut them off. He cut them off. Every time almost, it seemed. I thought we were going to get somewhere, and the real answer was going to come out on one of them, and he would cut them off. And I don't know why, and I don't think it benefited any one particular candidate or the other, from my view, but I wanted to see what they would kind of say when they went off script, because they all have their scripts, they all have their talking points, which we talked about, but I feel the real truth kind of comes out when the candidates, start going back and forth and start, that the fire starts building, and then they're just hollering, and they're getting that anger, they're starting to get real. They're not that fake political facade that we see all the time from politicians. And it's very, but we were almost there at certain times. And I don't know how many questions he asked, but it seemed like they asked like 3 questions. And I've seen debates where they'll ask a dozen questions, and I don't know how many were actually asked last night, but it didn't seem maybe they were too open-ended. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. Maybe there was too much back and forth. And, that's, as a member of the press myself, I wanted to grade Chris Wallace, and he got a D- from me last night. I think he should have had better questions. I think he should have had more directed questions, and, let them go at each other a little bit. Let them, let us hear something as the American people, and the back and forth, and there was a lot of talk about the back and forth and the way that they acted. It was, not beneficial or to the American people, and it wasn't becoming of a presidential election. It didn't have that quorum, didn't have that, and historically presidential debates have had some semblance of quorum and rules of engagement, if you want to call them that. And the candidates and the parties get together ahead of time and they agree how the debate should go. But the country and the world has changed. Everybody, if you look around, it has changed, folks. And so much of politics and government has been behind the 8 ball, and it's finally catching up now. And I remember, seeing videos. I'm not that old, but I remember when you would go to a baseball game on a Sunday, and you would wear your best clothes. They called them your Sunday best, and you would wear your hat and your tie and your shirt and your suit jacket, and your shoes would be nice and clean, and in some places you couldn't wear sneakers. Forget about that. But and there was a time when you left your house, you put on good clothes. You put on your best clothes. When you went to a store or an establishment, you dressed your best. Now we live in a time where more and more people, or just in general, are wearing pajamas when they leave the house. I saw somebody in a restaurant, they were wearing full-fledged pajamas. Like, something you'd wear to bed. And people just don't care about the decorum anymore. They don't care about it. And when you walk into a store and an employee, like a retail store, and the employees are all wearing sneakers and jeans, and if you're lucky, they got a polo shirt that may have a name tag on it. Maybe. Half the time, you can't tell who the customer is and, who works there. And Business today is rarely conducted in business suits and ties that they were, even 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's not. It's a casual business now. It's a business casual dress, even less than that in some cases. You know, that's why some of these older businesses, they're struggling to hang on because they're stuck in the old ways and they're not adapting, whether it's pride, whether it's, whatever. It's just not, they're not catching up with the times, and government is behind the times. I mean, they got to change these debates and let the candidates almost self-moderate maybe, and we, may be able to eventually see who they truly are. Because there's only so much of that stuff you can remember, prepare for. And then, once they get past all the bullet points and all the talking points, they or just want to repeat over and over again. So we remember it. Because, the rule of thumb is you hear something one time and then you don't remember it until you hear it a bunch of other times. And, just let them go at each other. Let's see who's stronger. Let the people decide who they want to be their leader. Why not? Why not? Let the people decide what personality they want in charge of our government. Not the media, not the richest party or candidate. Some people might choose a candidate that, let's say, they can relate to, or a candidate that they believe can do things they can't. Or people may choose nobody at all. You're really getting me getting fired up today, AJ. I really am. And, and we'll see how it all works out in the end. But at the end of the day, it's hard to argue with the facts that Americans, we as a people like warriors. One could argue the world has always liked warriors, going all the way back to the gladiators and the bullfighters and the Olympics. And, in America, football, baseball, boxing, hockey, MMA, it's all big in this country. And there's a reason for that. America's not afraid of fight. It's not afraid of fighting. It's not afraid of a fight. And, we tend to migrate towards winners and fighters that stand up for what they believe in, and what we believe in is right. American people, we wholly believe we are a country of winners. Now, that isn't always the truth, but that's what we've believed for quite some time. I mean, we were the winners of 2 world wars. We won the race to the moon. We have freedoms in our country that no other country has, and some only dream of. Yes, Americans don't always say the most politically correct or PC things. However, in today's world, maybe we should be looking at redefining what the term politically correct even really means now. Back in my day, America believed, AJ's laughing because I used the old back in my day analogy, but back in my day, it's true. We believed there were a number, there was winners and there was losers, and we were number one at everything. No one wants to be second best. No one believes they're only eligible for second place or can only be second place, even if you are. The reality is, we're survivors and we all want to be number one. And it didn't really mean we were number one at anything or everything, but it made us proud. It made us proud to be an American. It gave us hope. It gave us a direction. No matter what our differences were, we could all at least agree we were living in a great nation with great freedoms. We were and will always be far from perfect, but we are a work in progress, just like everybody else, every human on this planet. And we find ourselves asking, should winners be the nicest, the strongest, the richest, the youngest? Or shouldn't a winner be the best person for the job? Or shouldn't the winner be based upon, the rules of the game? The answer is all of the above, folks. All of the above. In America, collectively, we all have the freedom to make that choice and choose our own winners. Get out and vote. We're going to take a short break. Visit us on www.tooclevermafia.com. All our social medias at Tooclevermafia.com. Sign up so you don't miss any of our episodes and listen to our podcast as usual. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will be right back. Hello, Mafians. Hello, Tooclevermafia is back once again, and we are in the thick of it, aren't we, AJ, today with our U.S. Presidential Debate 2020 Breakdown Special Edition. I almost need a breath of air between that long title, but we're going to talk about something right now, and it's going to be another daily dose of cleverness, which we haven't done in a while. But I want to talk about the power of fear, okay? Now, I heard someone say, I don't remember where, I'm sure you can Google it and figure out where it came from, but I heard someone say, well, it didn't come from me, that, love makes the world go round. Maybe true, but all I see these days in politics today is fear, and fear has become the control. Fear is control, and the proposed solutions that we are hearing are just theater, folks. Shows. It's a show to create and manipulate. Fear is created by other humans, and, the what if, think about this for a moment and really think about it. And, the haunted house that we go to in the amusement park, with the dark shadows and the flashing strobe lights and the ghouls that jump out at you, and they're created by humans. In the political world, scandals are created by humans. And generally, both parties, the opposing party, whatever it is, and it's all created so the fear can grow. The fear can be nurtured. And they make you believe that fear. So ultimately, you can be controlled. You can be guided. You can, be given enough fear. Enough fear can be injected into your brain, and the more of that you believe, the easier it is for anyone or the opposing party in a political race, to make you their follower. All the bickering, the scandals, the name calling, the crazy numbers flying around. Once they start doing numbers, you've lost me already. And, all of that doesn't fix any of the problems. People need strong, decisive leadership. People need leaders and leadership that does not make more issues or make things more confusing. We need leaders and leadership that, gets their hands dirty, gets down there and doesn't just list the problems, but actually fixes them, goes one by one by one and fixes the problem. And, I wanted to kind of drop that daily dose of cleverness in there, because think about that, folks. When you're making your trip to vote or mailing in or whatever you're going to do, think about it. Have you been, manipulated by fear? Have you used the facts, or have you been manipulated by fear when making your decisions? And this isn't just in political life, but we're afraid to drink milk because the news tells us there may be something in it, or we're afraid of this, and it's fear. It's fear mongering. It's done by all political parties. It's done by all people. The fear of missing out. All of that is control. And once you realize, hey, there's really nothing to be afraid of here, and this is my decision, and I will, take the time, research this, and find my own truth, make my own opinion, and just use the facts, we will all be better off. But just wanted to drop that little dose of cleverness in there for you, and we're going to wrap this show up right after the next break, and I'm going to give you my final words and wrap up our special edition episode this week. And just hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Mafians. Thanks again, AJ. And we're going to finally wrap up this special edition today. And hopefully everyone found something useful, something they didn't hear or know already. I mean, it's all over the news, this debate. It's just a crazy, fiery madness boxing match, whatever you want to call it. Two titans in the center of a ring. But I'm going to give you my scores. I did promise everyone in the beginning. I'm going to give you my scores now. And this is how I score it. First, there's a couple of parts, but the first is the entertainment score was a 4.5. Okay? Yeah, 4.5. You know, if Trump told Chris Wallace to shut up like Biden told Trump, I probably would have given him 5 stars at that point. But, you know, seriously, I did carefully weigh all the points. And, you know, that Biden, I felt scored, and the points that Trump scored last night. So I tried to be fair. And I did it like a boxing match, I had mentioned earlier, but I did it like a boxing match since, you know, that's kind of what we saw last night, right? And Trump lost points right off the bat for interrupting way too much. You know, interrupt okay here and there, but he just made it a constant, and he lost points for that. And Biden lost points for just not answering questions. I mean, quite honestly, he sidestepped them and said he wasn't going to answer, and, you know, he just lost points for that. Sorry, Biden. And Biden also lost points for clearly throwing too many talking points out there that just the timing was completely wrong. They were forced. He didn't present them very well. And you could tell they were just talking points and scripted, very scripted. And they were rushed. And then they were in no particular order either. So lost a lot of points for that. Trump lost points for not telling us what he was going to do. I didn't hear much of what's going to happen next time around. I mean, but Biden did try to read his written points at one time, and but it was just not believable. It didn't come across as he, you know, heartfelt. Not that it was dishonest, but it was heartfelt that he really felt this was something that he was behind and was going to do. And if they were, you know, I feel like if they were really points that he wanted to bring to America and really things he wanted to do for this country, he would have known them inside out. You know, they would have been right, you know, front and center in his brain, but they just were, you know, at this point, you know, a few weeks away from the election, if you don't know what you're going to do for the American people, or why, you know, forget it. You lost me there. And Biden lost points for calling the president of the United States names. I'm sorry, but that is unacceptable. It does not matter if they're true. It does not matter if you like him or not. As an American citizen, or as any American citizen should know at this point, is, you know, we need to stand behind our leaders. You know, once we have an election in the United States and the election is over and the winner is declared, rightfully declared, we must stand behind our leader. If we are not happy with the leader, we can vote him out next time around, maybe put a little bit more effort into the campaigning for that particular person, or, you know, or not. But, you know, for someone else, you know, whoever doesn't win, you know, gracefully needs to accept the outcome of whatever the election, as long as it's fair. I mean, you can say it's not fair, but you need evidence and proof to say that. And maybe it's an outdated thought, but I truly feel it's, you know, what has differentiated our nation for hundreds of years from the rest of the world. You know, I feel the fact that our nation has always stood behind our leaders, whether we like them or not, once they were elected fairly, and that part of our, you know, the American way, if you want to call it, you stood behind your leader. You may not have liked them, but, you know, to disrespect an American president on stage, we wouldn't accept that from another country, from someone not from this country. It just can't happen. That was just, I felt wrong, but lost some points for that, Biden. And finally, I added up all the tallies, you know, a lot of lost points. I guess I started everybody at the top point mark of 100, and we worked our way down. Kind of the same way I do when we go out to restaurants, and everybody's going to get max tip unless they mess up my order or don't refill my soda, or I never see the waiter or waitress or server again. But then they lose points. So I always start at the max. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, 100%. That's a good starting point, I feel, and that's where I start. But I think a lot of the undecided voters are still going to be undecided, and at times I did feel it was a 2 versus 1 scenario almost. It was kind of like Chris Wallace was debating Donald Trump, and then there was just some guy in the background hanging out in there, looking down at his notes. And I guess all in all, taking everything I saw, I'm kind of going to go with it was a tie. I'm going to go with it was a tie. I don't think it was almost like a no contest. And I think we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't think the vice presidential debates are going to be nearly as crazy as who knows, maybe. I just don't see the two candidates as vice president even getting that much attention. So we'll have to wait till the next presidential debate, where I think it's like a town hall setting, and that's going to be fun. Well, they're running around, but I'm sure they'll have some sort of guidelines that help keep things in order, because that can't happen again. I don't know who the hosts are going to be, AJ. Do you know who they're going to be? No? Well, I guess time will tell. And so head over. We're blowing up. You don't want to miss the new episode. We might publish another episode this Friday. That's when our episodes usually come out. Head over to www.tooclevermafia.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, please, because we're gonna start doing some automatic stuff. Some cool videos are gonna start coming out. So subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, because we're gonna have some special bonus content, all free, no charge. That's really gonna be helpful, and you're not gonna want to miss that stuff. And we have a new Linktree thing in our profiles, which I think is really cool. AJ's saying, it's just no, everybody has one, but if you click on our profile on Instagram, you can see all of the different places you can listen to our podcast. And I don't know. I think that's really, really, really cool. And that's it, AJ. I think we've kind of gone over our special edition, and hopefully our country moves forward. And I gotta tell you, I'm waiting for 2020 to be over. This has been a crazy year in all my life. This is I'm not going to say what else can happen, because I don't want to jinx it, but I'm sure things could get worse, I guess. So we're just going to look on the bright side, and hopefully everything will start improving, and things will start getting back to whenever, I heard the term new norm. I don't know if I like that term, but hopefully things will get back to the way they were in 2019, and this country will get back together, and we'll start working toward collectively working toward a more prosperous future for our country, and not like the news articles where they're saying, America's on its way down. And we're just beginning. I think America is strong. I think we've got a great, a great culture. We got a great mix of people. We have great freedoms that, this freedom to be able to elect someone, that, it was an unknown from the political world, but obviously he was a known billionaire. Just to put him in Washington and see what he can do, because people wanted change, and now they got that. Now the next phase is, okay, well, this is the change we got, but the other option is, okay, do we like that change? Yes or no? But then who are our options? And I wish there probably were more options. I go to the food store. I kind of like a bunch of different options, and I usually look to see what's on sale, and that's the option I'll get, whatever that item is. But who knows? Well, it's going to be a fun new year, and I know on the East Coast in New York City, I don't know about the ball dropping and all that stuff. Are they going to have people there, AJ? You know anything about that? Maybe not. No. Okay. Well. Again, check us out, Tooclevermafia.com, all our social medias. Listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Breaker, all of those. You know where you listen. Whatever app is on your phone, right? I am Tooclevermafia. the host of the Tooclevermafia podcast, and that is all I have to say about that. Take care for now. Bye-bye.